그래줘
First time I ever heard about Tibet was in the early 50s. It was a Columbia movie. It's called Storm Over Tibet, directed by Andrew Martin. I think he shot footage in Tibet in the 30s. Then they intercut some backlot scenes in Hollywood. I'll never forget the black and white images, the authentic documentary images that he had in that picture. The art, the religious rituals. It's something so beautiful and so surprising. But I remember seeing on the cover, on the front page of one of the newspapers, and I had to be the New York Times, I think, for the Dalai Lama leaving in 1959, and being struck by that.
The Dalai Lama was not only the spiritual leader of Tibet, but also its secular leader. I think I realized that the survival of his entire culture was threatened when he was forced to go into exile.
The Dalai Lama reaches safety on Indian soil after a 14-day trek across the Himalayas, a fugitive from Red China's bloody repression of the Tibetan revolt.
I remember the newsreels. He looked very young to me to be a leader carrying such responsibility. I think he was in his early 20s.
Still being pretty much non-political and not understanding what was going on, but just the idea, it appeared to be the disintegration of the society, which was so fascinating.
Your characters are about an eye for an eye, and
yes.
This is
no,
the other.
see, this is fascinating to me. The other approach is really fascinating. You know, that's the thing.
Ironically, it sort of all crystallized around the time that I was doing Last Temptation of Christ in Morocco.
I'm always interested in people who really have the guts to stand up and do things through nonviolence. Because I'm so much aware of the other kind, the other way of doing it through violence, and it's so much sanctified in our world.
Finally, at that time, I began to read a lot about Tibet and saw some really extraordinary documentaries on television. I remember particularly the repression of these peaceful demonstrations in Lhasa. It clearly showed you what their culture was up against. Something as strong and powerful as a government that's entrenched in Marxism, and with religion as a natural enemy to it. To really try and deal with it on a nonviolent level as their world is being completely destroyed.
mean, I still can't quite believe it. That we're here, of all places, in Morocco, too, doing this absurd. We were intending to shoot in India, but, you know, we just never got the permit.
And so we're back in the Atlas Mountains, where I shot most of The Last Temptation of Christ a decade ago. Actually, it's almost the same locations, too. And in this place, we built the remote farmhouse where young Lama was raised until he was discovered and recognized as the 14th Dalai Lama.
Be careful there, be careful. They're mules, aren't they? Oh, come on, James. Where'd you grow up?
Right outside of New York.
Oh, well, yeah, it's outside of New York. You have mules and you got some
right,
horses.
In the backyard, yeah.
In the backyard. We had them in the tenements.
Yeah, right.
Let's get the timing if we can. Unless, look, I've never worked with horses before, so I don't know. I mean, you know.
Let's rehearse it again and see if we can get the
Let's get a rehearsal and see what.
All right.
I don't know if the horses only have one take in them or two. You know what I'm saying? What do I know? Okay, and action.
No, here, enough.
I don't know that. We don't know that.
Cut. Horse.
Problem?
This horse is getting ready to ruin the shot again. Watch. Yeah, he's got an attitude. Yeah. No, you can see he's ready to go. I don't know about this Western idea.
Yeah, right. Think twice now.
I don't know about these Westerns. It looked easy when I saw him as a kid. In the movies, it looked easy.
Probably the hardest thing has been to deal with the children. We have 4 young Tibetans to play the Dalai Lama at various ages.
Doing it at the beginning. There he goes. Right.
And of course, they're all non-professionals, and to help them, we're trying to shoot as much as possible in continuity.
Yes, that's it. Keep going. Yes. Wonderful. But each kid is a new experience. Scott, all we need is a few more feet, that's all, of him bouncing back and forth. He's running rampant. He's a muck. He hit Scott with the stick. He keeps doing that. The first child, who was only 2.5 years old. So, as we know, 2 years old is a treacherous age, very dangerous age. This is going to be a rough one. Yeah. Okay. All right, man.
Stick in his hand. He's got a
You know, he's got a lot to. It's going to be hard.
First thing in the morning.
Oh. But I think that's been the most difficult thing, to try to structure the shots, lay out the shots and diagrams, and then insert the wild card of these children. Between the camera crew, Roger Deakins, and of course Scott Harris, who the assistant director, was very, very helpful with all that. We're pretty much playing games.
Let him know about it, Bernie.
After a few days of trying different things, we settled on the idea of building a little clown house and hide the camera in the house.
Standing by, Bernie. I'd sit there and I'd see that clown looking at me. You know, we're just waiting and waiting and waiting until he was giving us something, you know. I don't want to know what they're doing. No. The ADs are mumbling into their mics. Patience. I mean, we got, well,
Nothing
right
so
we
far.
haven't got anything so far, but we got in the past 10 days we've got this stuff.
Right. I think
At
he
what
decided
cost?
to cut us off.
At what cost? The last thing we did with him was him crying because he wanted to go to Lhasa with the monks. He's a tough kid. Okay. Good, that's good, Tenshu. That's perfect. That's excellent. Yeah, that's great. That's what I wanted to do. Beautiful. Cut, that was great.
Put the boy back to his mom now.
Okay, give him the horse. I think the production should give him the horse. That's all.
Bye-bye, Daisy.
Bye. Good boy.
We had another young boy, Robbie, from New York, who was doubling. We use him whenever we don't show the boy's face. Yeah, real nice. Yeah. Okay, and action, Robbie.
He's older. He's like 4 years old. So I was able to follow instructions and a lot of concentration. He was a very good kid. And so he helped us a lot.
I go Lhasa. I'm going.
Oh no, he's going to have her one more time.
I'm going, Mama.
How will I be happy if you're gone?
I take you, Mama.
Don't forget me. Don't leave me behind, Hamill.
And cut. How's that?
Yeah, fine. Great.
Great, guys. Very good, Bob. Is it okay?
Yes.
Excellent. All right. I don't know you guys. The next Dalai Lama is Kunga Tenzin from India.
And he's 5, almost 6 years old. He's rather different. He's older. He understands more. And he's an extrovert. We're having a lot of fun with him.
Kunga, let's have some fun. What do you say? You want to have some fun? Do the scene? There he is. Okay.
He's known the dialogue 2 weeks before shooting started. He's known his dialogue, and he also knows everybody else's dialogue in the scene. It's a little troublesome because he'll tell the person, no, you say this, you say that. So he's running around yelling action. He wants, he just wants to be in charge.
Okay, ready and action, Lama.
Who are they?
Important men from Lhasa. The head Lama of Sera Monastery. Very important.
I know.
It's okay. It's all right. Let's start it from the beginning again. That's all right. Go back out. Okay, ready? Ready, Lama? Okay. Okay, ready and action.
Who are they?
Important men from Lhasa. The Lama of Sera Monastery. Very
I'm the newest kid on the block in terms of my involvement in this world. I'm just trying to go on the emotion of the boy, becoming the young man, and the idea of spiritual evolution, spiritual life building inside.
This is a good thing.
Okay, good. Especially when you say you must be a very high lama. I think you should be more private. You must be a very high lama. Something very intimate, I think. Maybe even softer in your voice to him. There are no actors in this film. It's all real Tibetans. So you feel that incredible passion for doing this from these people. And as I say, don't worry. We'll do it 3 times over, and then we'll cut and we'll do it again and again until we get some nice pieces. All right, ready and action.
Who are they?
Important men from Lhasa. The Lama of Sera Monastery. Very important. So what do you think? Maybe you're the king?
I want Lobsang.
Lama, it'll be fine. You must be a very high Lama. A great Tibetan. So this is a good thing. Don't be scared. You're not the first one to be discovered like this, and not the last. I will never let harm come to you. You must be a great man.
I know.
Great. Excellent. Excellent. It's the best one. Okay. Okay, now Lobsang's going to come in. Look at your brother, After you say, who said you could sit here? Push him a little.
Who said you could sit here?
Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Lobsang, after he pushes you, you look at him and then you take out the sweet, open it, slower, because you're not going to give him any. Make him want that candy, but you're not going to give him any. Look at Kunga. That's the perfect face. You look just like this kid. He's like Lou Costello with his face. Good. Great. Okay. That's terrific. That's great, kids. That's good.
Oh my.
Very good, kids. Very good. The relationship Lamo has with his brothers, particularly with Lobsang here, they're crucial. But the real emphasis in the whole picture is on the Dalai Lama, his singularity and loneliness. He just keeps leaving home. He keeps leaving everything. That's why I keep taking shots, pulling back. He leaves it all behind. He never gets back. The whole picture ultimately is about loss.
I'm not an authority on Tibet and not an authority on Buddhism. I don't know. All I know is the story of the people, the boy, I guess somebody who lives and represents a way of life that maybe we can learn a lot from and do a little better with ourselves. I don't know.
I had an interview with His Holiness in California and basically pitched the story to him. And he said, okay, you know about movies, I know nothing about movies. If you think that this would be a good idea, go ahead. And he actually said a very cute thing at the end. He said, okay, sounds good for children, good for Tibet, good for publicity. And his meaning of publicity was just good to tell everybody a story that needs to be told. I was ready to send the script out. So I came down to Los Angeles from Wyoming and had one of those Hollywood lunches with my agents, and they had this list of directors. So I looked over the list of directors and said, oh yeah, he's really good. I said, but the only person I want to send it to is not on your list. And they said, who's that? I said, Marty Scorsese. And they said, their mouths fell open. I said, are you out of your mind? I mean, truly those were their words. And I said, you know, I'm not saying he wants to do it, but I know he's going to get it. I knew he'd understand the society, the moral code, the journey, and the spirituality of it. So he did.
I think I met him first in Washington. By that point, I had learned a lot about what had happened, and actually I was struck by the good feeling that I had around him.
Marty was so nervous. He was so funny. You know, I knew it was going to be a great encounter, and I was pretty anxious to observe it myself, but His Holiness just embraces you. I mean, you don't have any moments of uncomfortableness around him. You know, I think His Holiness just gave him a big hug and just laughed at him, I think. He always laughs at Marty. He just kind of points at him and laughs at him.
I sensed something emanating that was had to do with being a positiveness, not a negative thing that was emanating. Which, you know, the pictures I make usually we revel in the negative emanations from people. So here was more positive things coming out. It was pretty interesting to me.
We had sort of a running joke with His Holiness's secretary, Tenzin Gyatso, who is a great film buff, discussing which films we should show His Holiness of Marty's. We go, okay, how about Raging Bull? No. How about Mean Streets? No. How about Goodfellas? No. So I don't think His Holiness has ever seen any of Marty's movies, but he knows of Marty's reputation and what a great filmmaker is.
I was very moved by the first meeting.
And as we left, I shook hands for maybe a few seconds. But what happened was that I was looking at him, and the rest of the room faded away, and there was a real consciousness of the now, of the present. You could hear your heartbeat.
And I knew once I had that meeting, I knew I was going to have to make the picture at some point. Somehow. I mean, I still can't quite believe it. That we're here, of all places, in Morocco.
The 14th incarnation of the Dalai Lama was revealed in 1937. He wasn't quite 3 years old at the time. A party had been sent out by the government to find him. They were led to his remote farmhouse in Amdo by a succession of signs and visions.
That's pretty good, Roger. Yeah, that's pretty good. All right. Roger, what about now going into his eyes? All right, let's go into extreme close-up, and that's it. It's the problem of trying to get into their heads, because they see the visions and the, you know, you got to go in the eyes, and you got to stay rigid. And so we want to get one now just like this, but it reminds me of the 40 Guns. And, you know, the beginning scene where they stalk down the guy in the street, Barry Sullivan walking towards the drunk kid, I think Lee Ferguson, I'm not quite sure. It was so bizarre. It is so bizarre. Feet, head, eyes coming in, bang, eyes going. It is so great. A showdown in the street, you know.
Fuller probably did it to prove that close-ups work in CinemaScope.
Yeah, in CinemaScope, absolutely. But it's natural, though, for CinemaScope. Yeah. It really works. It's that framing. And then the beautiful close-up of Jeffrey Hunter's eyes in King of Kings, remember?
Yes, of course.
In 70 millimeter. Jeez, that was striking.
saw you in a vision. You have chosen to come back to this life once more. You will be born again and again as long as all life continues. You are here to love all living things. Just love them. Take care for them. Have compassion for them.
Redding's a complicated character, and nonetheless, in the life of His Holiness, this is the man who found him. This is the man who had the visions. This is the man who had fulfilled the prophecies. So this is a very important person to him.
I think it's really the first time in the Tibetan community somebody is acting a Dalai Lama. In the old Tibet, it would not have been possible. At my father's period, in the early lives of this 14th Dalai Lama, you cannot, at the ceremony, you really cannot look up to his face, and we had to sort of bow down, and nobody can represent a Dalai Lama.
Your Holiness, I am Pala, your Lord Chamberlain, to serve you however I can. 13th Dalai Lama, and when you come of age, you will hold the great seat. Oh, very auspicious, 14th Dalai Lama.
Nice. Just do. Next. Right.
The funny thing with Gunga was, just before that he was chosen for this role, a High Lama recognized him as a reincarnated Lama. This, coexistence was sort of strange.
You're constantly being made up. I don't understand this. Look at all the fussing and the attention.
Ah, as someone said, jealousy.
I mean, I don't get that. I'm trying to take the one person all the way through and at the same time get as much of the culture in as I can, layering it through. Have the camera mainly deal with the impressions of the Dalai Lama when he was a boy. On this film, for example, a lot of the way I got into the mood of this picture was we looked at a lot of, just happened to be looking at De Sica films. Vittorio De Sica and Bicycle Thief and Gold of Naples.
And also Sajid Ray's Pate Panchali.
That puts you in a certain mood. Doesn't mean that this picture in no way is going to look like those. So, except that we have a 5-year-old boy, 6-year-old boy in this Kunga from India, who reminds me of the boy in the De Sica films. Particularly the boy playing cards in Gold of Naples. In a sense, you can't compare the two because I said with De Sica, you have improvisation, you have, Eduardo de Filippo, it's a different thing. Here it's Buddhism, and it's wonderfully written script by Melissa Matheson, so it's more controlled, I think. You touch upon it maybe in the look of Kunga. Every now and then he has a look on his face, because he's a 5-year-old kid.
Marty asks you to tell him the story in a shot. He'll say, but what's the shot? If you're trying to describe what a scene is like. It's like, I can go on and on about how somebody feels, and did he know that the mother in the meantime had actually done this? And he says, yeah, but what's the shot? So he just always toned you right down to out of the realm of kind of fantasy where I was, down into the depths of filmmaking.
That was very good. But just when you go to, he'll show you when you go to pull the thing, maybe just raise your arms a little slower.
Okay.
Because right now it's like.
Exactly. We're gonna practice right now. Good.
A lot of this film has to do with who's in the frame, who's not in the frame. But I spent about 4 days in my den in New York, alone, no telephone, into the night, just playing around with the whole script. I have stopped drawing big storyboards. Only for this film I did the first sequences. For the rest of the film, I did little notes in the script, annotations and some little drawings. But what happens is that I try to visualize the film scene by scene, enough to give me room to explore when I'm there on the set or in the location, so that it isn't written in stone. As writing falls, slips into frame. I know what to do. So you sort of get into a black depression before staging each scene. On any movie. It's like an actor's fear of rehearsal. It's the same thing. And you don't, because you know, and then once you see it once you be able to realize it, and you see it come to life, and you feel a little better, you know? And I kind of like the insinuation of the camera moves. The underside of the emotion that's happening at that point. The camera seems to try to insinuate itself throughout, but particularly when the boy is hiding under the robe and looking at the monk through the cloth. And I'm trying to do that as much as I can without falling into too many tricks.
May I be the protector for those without one? May I be a bridge, a boat, a ship for all who wish to cross the water?
Simple story, really, is what I'm trying to do. A very simple story. It's oddly enough, it's simple, but it's a big picture too, in an odd way.
During Casino, it was a big film, big production, and all that. And I said, what do we do in the next? I said, we make Gershwin. He said, oh, no, I like to make before a small film about the Dalai Lama. Can you read the script? He gave me the script. I said, Martin, this is not a small film. He said, yes, it's a small film and a big canvas. I said, this is not big canvas. This is miles of canvas.
What are we doing here? What are you going to do here in this place?
I'm going to do the Lhasa Street. Will be the West Gate in Lhasa, and then I will put for two established shots. We make a 2 matte painting shot. This is what will be this place.
The base of a matte painting is the...
Yes, the matte line will be the end of the houses. The red line is the matte line. Behind the matte line, I will put the Himalaya. And then Potala Palace will be just behind the building. It's a combination of matte painting and computer graphic and models. We make everything like Lhasa was.
If you build this,
yes,
can we do a matte painting anyway and take it off if necessary?
Okay, I'm going to lie. See you in a minute. We build this 8-9 weeks. They build the Potala in 300-400 years. This layout was made by the Dalai Lama when we've been in Dharamsala.
Yeah, we had a 3-hour meeting with him. He started redesigning, telling us where the rooms were, which room led off to another room, and that sort of thing. And also the arranging of the furniture in certain rooms.
Solinus rolls out the blueprint, and he's a very technical man, so of course he could read the blueprint and he understands. He takes his pencil and he starts changing things, and then everybody crowds around because it was just magic. He was telling us where he walked and where he sat, and no, that wall was not there. That wall is here. It was fantastic.
And Outside here we have the Himalaya.
Ah, yes. There they are.
Yeah, the Himalaya have to put in the right place, but
I want that mountain moved.
yeah, we have to move the mountain.
Not
We
moved.
know.
No
Easy for us.
Easy for us.
Yes, that's enough.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's fantastic. This is all later, right?
All real,
This is
all
real.
real stuff, all real material.
Stones here, the flagstones.
The people here are fantastic because we did everything, you know. It's on the old way because it's everything. It looks real. No technology, no cinema. It's not set. This is no looks like a set.
You have to remember that the Dalai Lama was a child when he was taken to the Potala, his 1,000-room winter palace in Lhasa. He was far from his friends and family. It was very scary for a 4-year-old. The dark, windy, gloomy place.
At the time of sunset, from the window, so I can see the, shadow, or big shadow, and growing. There's a few occasions I felt unhappy. Then you see desire to wish those ordinary boys and girls of Lhasa town who have few cows or zomos when they return from their daily pasture. So they're singing. So that my desire, oh, I wish I may be one of them, then much more freer.
Sometimes I would see Dalai Lama running through the corridors and with his bodyguards, you know, the big monk. They had to run. It's very hard. You were a small boy, you can run fast, you know.
Quite a lot of rats. But some rats are very friendly, very beautiful. But during night, and you sleep, oh, the rat comes and goes. Then it is little scare. Oh, that might come on my face.
Now, you much preferred, I believe, the Norbalinka Palace, is that true?
Oh, yes. Open place and a lot of water. I think like any other child, I found this to play with water. I really love fish and birds and also small animals such as what called rabbit. What called this? Rabbit. So all these facilities available only in Norbalinka.
Here we are full of Tibetans, and they came here. They came here for the first time. A few Tibetans, they start to cry. I said, why they cry? And also a joke, I said, maybe they read the budget. No, they start to cry. I said, oh, thank you. You give to us something. You put our back in our country. I was a little touched about this because I said, oh, maybe I did something good for the first time.
There's nobody in the movie who hasn't lived the movie in one way, shape, or form. As having had a relationship with people who they are portraying or who are portrayed, or simply by having been there, having fled, being refugees now. For instance, our technical advisor, Namla Takla, was married to Lobsang Samten, who was His Holiness's immediate brother and his closest companion. The woman who plays His Holiness's mother, Tenshu, is His Holiness's niece.
We'll do the same thing, only tighter with the three of you. Yeah, you're seeing your son being taken away.
Very good.
And while we're there in the set, when Marty's at work, we somehow kind of feel we're back in Tibet, but then, you know, when you're not in the filming scene and then you're outside and you're watching and you see all the camera moving and all the activities going on, it feels kind of sad.
Yeah. Terrific, okay. Thanks for waiting again all day. Thank you.
Marty was so worried about the actors, and I always felt that knowing Tibetans, that he didn't know so many Tibetans at that point. I said, you know, I can tell you something, they're transparent people. It's all going to be on their face. I don't think you have to worry. It's their story. And they all have a moment somewhere in there that is the moment they're portraying.
When I read the script, which is very moving, and what we're playing here is not just we are not actors. We don't have, we don't have experiences, but when we're playing, it's just we feel what we're playing. It's very interesting.
Yeah, I think some 30 members of the main cast, and we're all living in the same hotel. Like those of us who I have not seen for almost 15 years, we have known very well for in the past, are together. So it's like also like a great reunion of friends and some relatives as well.
200 Tibetans who came here, not for money, not for their name, but really they came here to preserve their culture.
You know, you hear about a film like this, they think it's going to be a lot of Buddhist teachings and things. You can't do that. Teachings are there, but they're within the scenes, and they aren't up front. You know, so you don't expect to be quizzed at the end of the movie. It's about people, and a culture. That's the idea.
The Tibetans have these great rituals. There's the Nichiren Oracle. He is the protector of the Dalai Lama and the government of Tibet. He is consulted by the Dalai Lama and his government before any major decision. The way that the oracle is chosen is by revelation. When the existing oracle, the medium, dies, they have to find a new medium for Nichiren to speak through. And this little shy guy who nobody would in a million years have thought he's the one gets up and he's speaking. He's gone into a trance and Nichiren is speaking through him. So he is now the medium. We had hoped to bring him. If we had been in India, I think he would have done it for us. He said he would be in the movie. He'd go into a trance for us in the movie. It's now not going to happen. It probably would have been incorrect for him to evoke Nichiren in another location. And Nichiren may not have come. Or he may have said really, he may have been really mad at us. We didn't know what we were going to get. So anyway, it'll now be someone acting out Nichiren. That was one of the things Marty and I struggled with, was finding a way to present a religion, to be able to sneak in those little ideas of what Buddhism is, because that was his life. That's who he is and who those people are. And there is no sin, there is no heaven or hell. It's really about being a good person. He said a funny thing once. He said that if you can't be a good person, just try not to be a troublemaker. That's it, really. What more can you say? He says that his is the religion of kindness. You discover that when you meet his people. They are kind people. And that's what they're striving for, I believe, and it's what he's striving for.
Our goal is try to create or to achieve a meaningful, human community with meaningful life or meaningful society. There, they, my basic belief is compassion, the spirit of forgiveness, spirit of reconciliation. These are the fundamental sort of basis of happier human society, peaceful society.
And we are here as kind of caretakers, not the owners of the earth. And in that respect, you know, American Indians and ancient Tibetans were thinking very similar. The whole universe is our temple. Mountains are our temple, lakes are our temple, everything is our temple. Human beings is the essence of the culture. Therefore, you don't build temples. You build the man, the caretakers. That was our ancient culture. I was part of the old Tibet, which is no more. At the time, I worked in the Potala Palace. I was appointed to the staff of the Grand Secretariat. Every year there were 2 processions, and it was quite a big event. It was not so easy for average Tibetans to get access to the Dalai Lama, because he was so removed from the daily lives of the people. So when they got a chance, they all showed up.
I love to see more people. I always used to sit in front in order to look. I never used to stay inside. Much happier is it to see the face, a lot of new face with big smile.
I think little Kunga did exactly that.
Very good.
Must have known exactly what you did. That's exactly what you did.
And also the what we call curtain. Usually I opened.
This is not 57th Street and 8th Avenue. You know, if you say I'm on a corner in New York, okay, it could be uptown, it could be downtown, you know, certain areas. You're on a corner in Lhasa, it's a little different. People came out by the thousands to see the Dalai Lama. Of course, we only have a few hundred. We don't even have the Potala Palace. It's going to be painted in. It's all going to be created by illusion. Oh, boy. I guess the most important thing is the people. When I studied the historical footage of the actual procession, what really struck me was the devotion of the Tibetans across all the generations. I guess that's what I'm trying to get here. I'm trying to capture with the help of Roger Deakins.
Marty gives, I think, all the departments an enormous degree of flexibility. He notated a script before we came here with his ideas of how he wanted to shoot every scene. And I don't say we stick to them religiously, but that has formed the basis of just about every scene we've shot. And that's basically it. And obviously that changes on the day. We work around it on the day. I don't think, without seeing the scale of the procession, I mean, there was a shot notated that as a crane shot, and the procession was so large and the shot became so large that we ended up doing it as a Steadicam shot. It was funny, really, because we built the rig and built the crane, and it obviously didn't work for the shot he wanted. But it worked great. We did a top shot of the whole procession because we had the crane built, so we didn't waste it. So we got this lovely top shot, and then it ended up doing the crane shot as a Steadicam shot instead, which was actually had much more energy and was probably a much, well, certainly the only way to do the shot. You couldn't do it with a crane. We're using it a lot more, actually, than we originally planned.
I got the shots. You give me the time. You guys tell me. I'll go anywhere, anytime, because eventually I got to get home. And the Tibetan people are waiting. And then... You could see.
Oh, yeah,
they've been gone a long, long time. It's all traumatized. Most of our crew's from Italy, and today they invited me to share one of their authentic Italian meals for lunch.
Tomato con tonno, matriciana, piatto tipico romano.
The Grips even set up their own little temporary kitchen in the back of the workshop. They've been working here for months, and obviously they miss the good stuff, the delicacies from the old country.
You don't feel subconscious with the camera, guys. Just eat. Don't worry about it. When it was ready, because when we were shooting Last Temptation of Christ, we ran out of Italian pasta. We had to use Moroccan. The crew, it was all Italian crew mainly. Oh, it was terrible. And they had to finally smuggle some in from Rome.
And, it's pasta al dente for everybody.
Terrific. That's a good feeling around the set. Whenever I go on the set, I have to laugh because they were always laughing. So. And no matter how frustrated I might be, there's these two monks waiting for me, and suddenly my mood goes right down to a lighter level. In the script, the 1950 Opera Festival occupies less than a page, but it's a pivotal moment in our story. And here you see the culture at its apogee in the festivals going on in Lhasa while, thousands of miles away, the Chinese invasion's begun. This was the last sunset of old Tibet.
During that period, about 5 days, it's a complete holiday. No need to sit with my serious tutor and that and meditation. Then, of course, my mother also stay at Noblinka. So these are the reasons I found this during that period.
What I'm trying to do, I guess, is to create an impression of a world that doesn't exist anymore. It may be the only way to preserve the memory or the heart of that culture. We have documentary footage of it, but what I'm trying to capture here too is the emotion, the spirit of it.
Young girl from amongst the extras who was from Tibet. The first day she got here, they took her for the costume fittings, and she went there and she just looked at all the costumes there, and she was like, in olden Tibet, did they really have such, grand costumes? Did these things really exist? Like, she didn't have any idea of what it was like. At least those of us in India, we have books to read, we have information, we have documentaries, we see them and we know how it was like. Those in Tibet, they have no idea at all. It's very sad. We were talking about amongst some of the castes here, and we were saying maybe, this might be the most of Tibet that we'll see.
Number of people who had tears, and it was very emotional, and it's a very emotional movie for us Tibetans, really. Tibet was so isolated. Majority of the people were just living their daily lives and had no idea about Chinese had just stepped into the eastern borders of Tibet. that's the reason I feel we lost our country, because we were just isolated by these mountains and we were just immersed in our daily life and sort of no communication from outside.
We never have enough extras. So, to play the Chinese, we got the Tibetans and the Moroccans. We disguised them with dust and goggles.
Oh yeah, there's 200 people in it.
Yeah.
And you know,
from
if
here
we
to
find...
the end, just the 200 people with the horses.
Right. Lawrence will take the rear and cheat it around too.
Just keep cheating the same people.
I will. Good.
Robert Aldrich did it with one tank in attack.
You have two heads.
One tank.
One here.
The same tank going around. Yeah. Huh?
What about Steel Helmet?
No, attack, Robert Aldrich, yeah.
In Steel Helmet, Fuller had only 6 students for the Chinese army.
Oh, we had the 6 students? No, we had the 5 Roman soldiers, the 5 Roman stuntmen who played the 5 Roman soldiers who surrounded the temple in Last Temptation of Christ. The entire legion they played. I mean, I didn't realize trucks would sound like that. Everything changed. I mean, that was the end of old Tibet. Until the Chinese came, they didn't even have modern roads. They didn't want them. There's even a line in the script about that. The Dalai Lama says they had taken away our silence.
On the one hand, Tibetans lived in splendid isolation. On the other, the whole world around us was changing. There was no sufficient understanding of the modern world. Plus, there were other problems, international power politics, in which Tibet became kind of helpless pawn.
Generally, the Tibetan people, they're very kind. They're very hospitality. But even so, seeing the Chinese army marching on the street, they lose their patience. And they forgot these armies are not Chinese, these are the Tibetans, but dressed as Chinese. They feel they are the Chinese, kind of, you know.
Go out! Tibet is free! Chinese, go out! Tibet is free! Tibet is freedom! China, I don't know. No. Da, Jadu. Tomse! Yeah!
The focus is not on the invasion itself. This is not an epic about the fall of Lhasa. It's more of a personal picture, an intimate story, in a way. The boy had to piece it together behind the Potala walls. I mean, he couldn't go out. His whole vision of the world had to happen within his own room. And finally, it all had to happen within his own mind. The epic should be inside. That was the idea. And I think the point of view camera helps that a lot. And this narrows down the vantage point and how to interpret a scene visually. Like so. He's looking this way.
Yeah,
we can get it this way.
right here.
Then we're okay. So we've got 2 takes of it okay. If there's a scene of action, it has to be as he saw it. And this is the case again when the Dalai Lama gets his first close glimpse of the enemy, a Chinese general and his delegation.
Okay, quiet please for a while then. Call it out, guys, especially down below. Rolling?
Okay. Action.
I thought he would be some kind of monster, even with horns growing out of his head. But he's only a man, just an ordinary human being, like myself.
They are the worst of the worst. They're worse than ghosts.
That's good.
Good one.
It's only a man. Tenzin Tutam, who is 18, plays the Dalai Lama as a young adult. He's never been to Lhasa. He was born from Tibetans living in exile in India. Actually, he performs alongside his own father, Jigme Tsarang, who appears in the film as the regent. I mean, it's like a whole movie. Father and son are playing together. And to make it a little more intimate, he's also the nephew of our advisor, Namla Takla, who's the sister-in-law of the Dalai Lama. End with, he's only a man. And action.
I thought he would be some kind of monster, even with horns growing out of his head. But he's only a man, just an ordinary human being, like myself.
One more time, it's a little too rushed now. He's only a man, just an ordinary human being like myself. Just an ordinary human being like myself is too rushed. Take your time now. Okay, ready, and action.
I thought he would be some kind of monster, even with horns growing out of his head. But he's only a man.
Okay, one more time. And action.
I thought he would be some kind of monster, even with horns growing out of his head. But he's only a man, just an ordinary human being, like myself.
They are the worst of the worst. They're worse than ghosts.
We heard a lot of terrible stories about communist revolutionary. So naturally, you see, the more the anxiety. And also the regent advice was suggesting to me, now time has come. You see, you should carry the responsibility. So then you see the more serious sort of feeling, now how to handle, how to carry.
At the point that he decided he had to go to China, the Chinese were bombing monasteries, they were razing villages, and I think his hope was just to at least put an end to that. People did not wish the Dalai Lama to go to China. Certainly the people of Tibet were terrified that he'd never come back. His Holiness has always been very pragmatic and was so even at that time. China was in his country. How could they fight Mao's huge army? The Tibetans were barely able, if willing, to fight back. This was a Buddhist nation dedicated to nonviolence for over 1,000 years.
The Chinese government arranged some lesson about Chinese revolution and Marxist ideology. At that time, I also had complete agreement, such as the working class people, genuine, equality, and distribution about wealth. So these are very, very attracted about my way of thinking.
The People's Liberation Army began the drive into Tibet. The news was enthusiastically supported. In particular, Tibetans in all parts of China jubilantly celebrated. The mission of China is to bring progress to Tibet. We welcome you, Tibet, back to the motherland.
There'll be more applause. I think we have to...
I was surprised at how uncomfortable I have felt these last couple nights, where we've lost the Tibetans and we're now dealing with China. Not the Chinese, but we are dealing with the power of China. And I think it's a little subliminally tough. Seeing the Tibetans sit at the end of the table listening, all the Chinese comrades are clapping, and you look at their faces, and once again, it's all written on their faces, how they feel about hearing that themselves.
The people of the whole country are pleased that the minority nationalities and the Hans are united.
Action! Appuyez, hein?
Cut,
we should
cut,
start.
cut. Okay. There should be at least three flashes right on action. There should be 3 flashes, which means they will have already composed the image. So that there's always an overlap of bulbs flashing. You see, while they're firing, somebody else is composing. And action!
It's the first time you have the Dalai Lama and Chairman Mao together. Every move in the frame, inside the frame, and of the frame itself is of importance because it's commenting on this meeting. The flash bulbs are like exclamation points. In a funny way, it's really meant to create a kind of disturbing undercurrent of what's to come.
If we just get another blast of that. One more. They're a little too unfortunate. Now it's definite disheveled completely. We always have problems, technically with problems. In other words, hard to get the bulb out fast enough, hard to shift the film. First of all, they're not photographers. Secondly, they're not even extras. They're guys off the street. And you can only expect a certain amount from them. And so you lose, it's like erase everything, go back to 1. When you do that, you got to concentrate and you can't do anything else. Hey, the boys are waiting. Okay, cut. How long was that?
8 till when they really stopped flashing.
It might be all right. 8 seconds, might be, I don't know. I just need a little more. Any cameras still open in Casablanca at this hour? What do you mean? It's a big city. We're out of the desert. There's got to be a camera store open at 3:40 in the morning using old Graflexes.
Sometimes the hardest thing is to find out where the dead spots are. To choreograph extras, really. To choreograph background action. What you have to do then is like extra number 5 has to move 2 feet to his left on action cue 3. And then while he's doing that, the guy, now that we got that worked out, that the 4 extras in the front are okay, the one on the left is okay, the guy on the right still isn't right. What's wrong with him? Is he too late? Well, if he's too late, then we should give an action cue 4. And so you have, it's like pulling strings. It's like pulling strings. And somehow with a combination of that and a camera move, so in a combination of the assistant director's work and the DP, you know, and me just trying to figure out what doesn't look lifelike. Okay, all right, cut. How was that stretch? 8.5. I was gained a half a second. That's pretty good. Because I'm only going to get 8 seconds. No matter what we do, we're going to get those 8 seconds. I said, this is not. It's not only not right. I said we have to start from the beginning. Is the concept of the shot right? Should it be a tracking shot? You know.
Originally in your drawings and on the script, it was designed as a tracking shot.
Originally in my drawings was the word "how" with a question mark. That's why. It came back to yes, yeah. The next day I said, oh, sure, we'll track in real nice because, you know, we'll track in because the real element there are the close-ups of him looking at mouths, the face, the hands, the shoes. That's what it really is. We just need a little bit of the photographers. Watch this. Okay. Oh, come on, I want to have some fun. All right. Live. Okay, and action, man. And as I say, I bring baggage to this. I've been shooting photographers like that since 1979, Raging Bull. Those flashbulbs are like gunshots. They're like aggressive attacks, insinuations of what's going to happen.
Chairman Mao, I think, treated me like his own child. And looks, appears, he really, liked me.
You know, my mother was a Buddhist. I have a great respect for your Lord Buddha. He was anti-caste, anti-corruption, anti-exploitation. For some, politics and religion can mix.
At the beginning, one occasion, Chairman Mao praised Buddha. He considered Buddha was one of the revolution.
Sit there, show respect, and utter devastation. Just look at him. It's more.
How has your stay been?
Very interesting. Your factories are very impressive, and I enjoy
You have a lot to learn. But you need to learn this. Religion is poison. Like a poison, it weakens the race. Like a drug, it retards the mind of the people and society. The opiate of the people. Tibet has been poisoned by religion, and your people are poisoned and inferior. Let me walk you to your car.
Then, my last meeting, he frankly told me, religion is poison. During that moment, I really felt, now this is the person going to destroy Buddhism or religion.
This is it though, with the night shoots, right?
Yeah.
This is it.
Why, you want more?
No. No. I have my film night shoots in Vegas on Casino. Hellish.
Yes. You were also there in Taxi Driver.
Yes, I was, yeah. In the back of a car.
Yeah.
That's why I was wondering. They had to put blankets because I was too short. My head was below the back seat. Couldn't see me. The guy who was supposed to do that part got into an accident. And it was the last week of shooting, the last week and a half, and I was the only one in the little part.
Right.
And so De Niro thought it was a good idea if I did.
So then you go back to the monitor and check?
No, there was no monitor at the time. I looked through the lens and I designed the shots. And he taught me a lot about acting in that scene. We didn't move his head. I was just talking to the back of his head.
Right.
And I had to tell him to turn the flag down. And I said, turn it down.
Right.
He said, no, make me turn it down. Because if you're in a real situation and you want the guy to turn the flag down, you gotta make him do it.
Right.
So then I went to that long improvisation. It was crazy.
Let's try another rehearsal, please, guys.
We cannot persuade you to stay in Peking.
I must leave.
Take care of your health. Write me off.
And action.
It is hard to comprehend just how it is that the Dalai Lama is not angry. But he's not. He has an exquisite realization of impermanence and emptiness and karma. That's why I think he'll win in the end, because he really does not manifest anger or hatred. When he returned to Tibet, he wrote Mao many letters, and he never heard back from Mao again. He had no contact with him again for the rest of Mao's life.
Your enemy is your number one teacher. You learn a lot of things from them. I think there are still a lot of people who feel really very, very, kind of resentful, and it's very hard for them to suddenly develop compassion when the enemy has no compassion, no understanding, no appreciation. And so they would say, what good will it do if I'm compassionate? But it's not for the enemy. It is for yourself. That's very clear.
The hardest decision to make was to leave Tibet. You know, that's the hardest decision. And everything builds to that. He's very unhappy at the thought of leaving and being separated from his people. His last hours are spent in the shrine of his personal deity, Mahakala. Then, in the dead of night, he escapes. He's really going into exile, but somehow he takes the spirit of the land, the spirit of the culture with him.
It's 5:11. Why don't we break for lunch and look for cloud cover, and we know what our first shot is once we've got the clouds.
The problem is it's too bright. The sun is too bright. It's too pretty. It has to be a little more even. Yes, the other night on the ARTE channel in France.
Oh, that's a good one.
Widescreen of The Adventures of Haji Baba with John Derek. Music by Dmitri Tiomkin. Theme song sung by Nat King Cole.
Haji Baba, he was always in love, in love.
It's one of those things that goes through my mind all the time. It's like if my brain needs to have space for other things, not the theme song from Adventures of Haji Baba. But it is a very interesting looking movie.
Did you see the camera work?
The camera work is great. I have an IB print of it. I have an IB Technicolor print. It's got one of the funniest opening lines. He's walking in a Kasbah, and it's all these slaves for auction. And the guy walks up to somebody, and before the credits begin, he looks around, says, "What time's the auction begin?" Just like that. And like it says in the script, light rain or misty. So we're going to wet it down and make it kind of drippy in a way, and have them look as if they've gone through, you know. And there'll be some inserts of rain later.
And he's supposed to be real sick because of the rains.
Yeah, he got very ill, and that's why he came in on a yak. Okay, yak's coming back in. Yeah,
Or she, whoever.
I think it's a he.
Oh, who knows?
I can't tell.
Yak names might be different.
I have a whole other thing going on.
Yeah, right.
Yak thing.
Please stand by.
Here we go.
Most of the shots were designed months ago. But when you get the location, you start making adjustments.
And go past it.
Yeah,
we'll do that on the little crane.
You begin to realize, too, for example, that as you stage a scene, that the Dalai Lama is not sitting up on his yak, as you thought, but he's lying down on the yak. And he's going to need help dismounting when the Lord Chamberlain tells him, "You must walk into India. We have won." But for the camera, though, it's still a curve, an arc, and a sort of move into his face, into the Dalai Lama's face, as he looks up to see the Indian border. As far as I'm concerned, the shot that I thought up months ago still works for the scene. Okay, slowly turn, slowly turn. Slowly turn, slow, look back. That's it. Now you see the men? The bow. Now hold it. Okay, move in. You see them again. Good, good. You see them on the ground dead. And then the wave. When he finally looks back, he sees the men who helped him come over the border. And they have to go back. He blesses them. Then he looks again, and he sees them dead. He knows that they're going back to their death. By seeing this, I mean he has a vision.
the vision of a terrible future. So to see the men dead, laid out that way, in his vision, is really the destruction of a culture and a civilization.
From 59 to 80, it was just locked up. Nobody knew, none of us knew what was happening in Tibet. Then 1980, the Tibetan delegation went. My late husband, Lobsang, was in the first delegation. A lot of people just came to see him. There was not one family where you had a good story. Somebody was in prison, somebody had died, somebody had been murdered. And for a whole year, we were all just crying. When he came back, he was a broken man, really sort of devastated. And as Sultan said, he died from a broken heart. I think it was true to see all the suffering from, what had happened in Tibet.
This is the darkest period of Tibet's history.
Yes, no doubt. In the past, almost I think the last 2,000 years, many events happen. But an event which really threat the existence of Tibetan nation with its unique cultural heritage. And that's, I think, today now happening. In the past, never such things happened.
If something were to happen, it would have to happen soon, because right now inside Tibet there's so much population transfer going on. There's so many Chinese being encouraged to come and settle down in Tibet. There's so many Tibetan children escaping to India for education. Their parents sent them to India so that they brought up as Tibetans.
Whether we like it or not, China, Tibet, we have to live side by side. While we carrying the freedom struggle with compassionate motivation, with respect to others' right. While we are trying to gain our own right, with respect to others' right, this definitely bring long future is more, friendly and a harmonious sort of neighbor or companion.
Right before the end of the shoot, the Tibetans set up a special ceremony on the set. They wanted to show their appreciation to the crew. This prayer was composed by the Dalai Lama himself after his escape to India. Many of the Tibetans told me that participating in this movie had somehow given them a kind of a sense of hope. A sense that it was certainly not over, that their culture could be kept alive if awareness of their plight was growing around the world. But I'm not one for causes in that sense, except unless it's like film preservation, which but it just is interesting to me. I just think that's the only way to go. Compassion and love is the only answer. I've always felt this based in the Christian texts. Again, was attracted to it because of the aspect of a spiritual being, the spirituality of this man. And what's the power that he has? What's the power of compassion? And is that the evolution of humanity? Is that the way it should go? The other way is violence.
Do you still believe that you will go back to Tibet in your lifetime?
I hope it's not too old. I think I can. I mean, there will be, as a time or days, return my own country and service to my people, not only Tibetan but also Chinese. Try to promote deeper human value, as I do everywhere. To me, there's no differences whether Chinese, whether Tibetan, whether Indian, whether European. We are same. Now I think time has come to think more about humanity rather than my nation or our nation.
Okay, and action. I'm always interested in people who really have the guts to stand up and do things through nonviolence.
I saw you in a vision. You will be born again and again as long as all life continues.
My basic belief is compassion, the spirit of forgiveness, spirit of reconciliation.
We are here as kind of caretakers, not the owners of the earth. The whole universe is our temple. Therefore, you don't build temples, you build the men, the caretakers.
Now I think time has come. Now I think time has come.
Your enemy is your number one teacher.
But somehow he takes the spirit of the land, the spirit of the culture with him.
Dadu. Dadu.
I think time has come to think more about humanity rather than my nation or our nation. To me, it's no differences whether Chinese, whether Tibetan, whether Indian, whether European. We are same.
The rest of the room faded away, and there was a real consciousness of the now, of the present. You could hear your heartbeat. This is not 57th Street and 8th Avenue. You guys tell me, I'll go anywhere, anytime, because eventually I got to get home. And the Tibetan people are waiting. And finally, it all had to happen within his own mind.
Dadu.